To me, the biggest disappointment in gaming history is Call of Duty Black Ops 4. And I know what a lot of you are thinking. There have been much bigger disappointments in gaming, Watch Dogs and Fallout 76 come to mind. But to me, Black Ops 4 is the biggest disappointment in gaming. And I know everyone who's played the game could probably tell you a list of reasons why. But I feel like it goes a little deeper than that. When you judge something objectively and, you pick it apart piece by piece and you look at what's good about it and what's bad about it, yeah, that'll give you a clear and decisive answer to why something is or isn't disappointing, for example. But I think you gotta look at what came before this game. What was the history of Treyarch's Call of Duties? And it's pretty famous, so I don't really think I need to explain that to you. So you should understand that why when this game dropped, everybody was ultimately sad. And more than that, disappointed. Yeah, I started on Black Ops 1, and then I, played and bought every DLC release for the next 2 games, and, yeah, I loved it, and I pre-ordered Black Ops 4 with the Season Pass because I expected it to be just as good, because, man, when you go watch those trailers for the maps, it looks amazing. Like, the story they set up is so beautiful, and you're so intrigued, and you're like, oh my god, like, I wonder, like, how, like, this thing is gonna work on the map, and I wonder how this thing is gonna work on the map, and I wonder if you're going to be able to do this on the map. There was so much intrigue, and I don't think zombies had ever had that before. When Black Ops 3 came out, people were excited for zombies, but it was not revered as the amazing zombies experience as it was. Black Ops 3 is definitely the best zombies experience there is. Maybe one of the best experiences in gaming, period. If you didn't like Shadows of Evil, the first map, and you thought, oh, the alien stuff was weird, please go give it another chance. It really is something truly unique, and you will never really get to experience anywhere else, and it is just so interesting and so fun. I really, really do mean that. So, we had this amazing game in Black Ops 3, and Black Ops 4 is going to follow it up. But what went wrong? Everything. Everything went wrong. But why? Well, obviously, the first thing to speculate was, well, maybe that October deadline fucked them up real bad, They didn't have enough time to finish the maps and everything and truly get the game working the way they wanted to. And, that's a common theory between basically everyone in the community now. But I think when the game came out, the problems that it had seemed to lie a lot more on Treyarch than I think people realize now. Like, at the time, Treyarch was getting a lot of shit, and they were honestly taking a large portion of the blame for zombies not being very good, but I think people kind of backed off on that idea and started blaming it more on Activision. But I do think people need to realize that simple problems like, features not being in the game that you could literally add with the click of a button because they're in the other modes. I know a developer will say, well, it's not that simple. Okay, well, you could still spend the extra 10 minutes to do it. And another thing, just like with the game crashing and the stability, you're telling me that there weren't ways for them to release some sort of patch to make the game run better at launch? Like, you're telling me that's not a priority, Treyarch? What was the priority? Blackout? Oh yeah, that was the priority. And just so many little quality of life things that were in Black Ops 3 and that weren't even in Black Ops 4. How do you take Black Ops 3, which on launch ran better than Black Ops 4, had better features than Black Ops 4, and how do you take that and remove all of it? And then how do you blame that on Activision? How do you blame the fact that they had the template for the perfect game of Black Ops 3 and they fucking fucked it up somehow? I don't really know how much of that is Activision's fault. If there's a Treyarch developer out there who's allowed to speak on that, who no longer works for the company and recently quit and was the mastermind behind some of the greatest maps like Mob of the Dead and Origins, and who would like to speak up about it, go ahead, man. We're waiting for you. Anyways, it didn't make sense that it was as bad as it was. The game constantly crashed. There were so many features that weren't there that were essential to really being able to enjoy the experience as a whole. And just overall, the game even looked worse. Like, the lighting was shit, like the graphics were better, but somehow it just felt like it lost that Call of Duty Zombies magic. And that's not even starting on the fucking gameplay. When you overcomplicate something to the point of where it kind of just feels like you're doing the same thing every time, it doesn't really feel complicated. It kind of just feels like, okay, I have to do a certain amount of inputs to reach this destination, and that's the only way to achieve my goal, you know? You're making something hard, but you're not necessarily making it more challenging or engaging. You're just making it more of a chore to do than you're making it fun to do. And pretty much that applies to every single zombies map inside of Black Ops 4. Like, even the ones that people agree are really good and, you know, that people like a lot, the core gameplay allows for you to just have a really easy time killing zombies and whatnot. But when it comes to like actually going through the map, and it comes to like doing the Easter egg or the little side challenges to get items, it's like, Jesus fucking Christ, do I really have to do this every single time in a match? It like had this such a specific thing to get a thing that is essential for making it to the next point of the map. Like, it's not fun. It really isn't. And they designed every map like that in hopes that it would encourage people to play more and get better. But what actually happened is it just completely turned away any replayability aspect there was about like any of these maps. And here's the thing, we got 4 maps on launch. That was insane. 3 of them were free. 1 of them was the pre-order bonus, and most people like me pre-ordered the game anyways. So, like, how is it bad? It was everyone's question. Like, how did they fuck up this bad? Come on, make it better. It took them so long to make any real improvements to the game, like half a year almost, to get it really solid. And that's why it's such a disappointment, because you look at everything else the game had and you're just like, okay, this is where the time went to, like this is where like the careful thought and reasoning went to, but at the end of the day, you ended up putting too much thought into it and not really putting your heart into it, not putting your the part of you that makes you a gamer developer, a gamer yourself. You didn't put that into it, and you lost yourself along the way. And then you have the game mode that a lot of people were buying the game almost specifically for, that wasn't the game mode Blackout that you were putting all your time into, and you made it worse than the game that came out 3 years ago by removing all of its core features. Why? I don't know, and I don't think we ever will know. And it's something that it's been like 2 years now almost, and it's still genuinely I'm not trying to rip on Treyarch and Activision too hard, but I think they really need to look at what they did with this game and say, okay, we were wrong, we're sorry. Because when this next Call of Duty game comes out, I want it to be good. Everybody wants it to be really, really, really good. And I don't know if it's going to be, but I hope it is. And all they have to do is just do what's worked for them and add things that people actually want, because they know what people want. They've been good at like seeing what people actually care about and giving it to them. So they just need to do that. They just need to listen to people, because at the end of the day, are you making the game for yourself, or are you making the game for your fans? Because we know Activision, they only care about money, so they are making it for the fans. I don't know why this felt like such a weird, like, personal project from Treyarch, and it was like, no, we're doing this our way, and we're gonna keep it this way. And with zombies, like, you have all these maps and this brand new like chaos storyline, and it was all very interesting and it was all very Treyarch's way, but then they just fucking don't do anything unique with it. It's like they cared so much for the launch of the game, and when the launch of the game didn't do well, Activision said pull the plug on this whole fucking game mode support, and that's essentially what happened from people who have leaked stuff. Like, they said that is pretty much what happened, because the 4 maps we got on launch were all, in my opinion, pretty bad. Like, even 9 I just don't think is enjoyable on the Black Ops 4 engine, and people have said if you put all these maps on the Black Ops 3 engine, all these maps would probably be everyone's top 10, something like that. And yeah, I agree, because Black Ops 3 was simple and it was fun, but the way you played was so fluid and exciting that it kept you coming back for more, and also it just helped that the maps were just designed perfectly and for a wide array of players. Multiplayer. Now, Call of Duty multiplayer, if we're being honest, the formula for it and the way it plays has not changed since like 2007. And do you want to know why that is? Well, it's because it fucking works. It makes them a lot of money. They don't have to try very hard to implement it into every game with the different changes and unique things that each game has. And yeah, it just works. I don't really think I played something like Call of Duty, which is weird because when you look at it, it's really basic when it comes to multiplayer. Yet, all these companies have tried to make their FPS multiplayer games, and somehow they can end up always making it worse than Call of Duty's basic but fast-paced gameplay. So, Treyarch, though, they tried to do something different for this game. Like, truly, honestly, this is probably the most unique Call of Duty multiplayer to date. Like, I'm not, if, like, the EXO games, right, you know, they're unique compared to something like World at War, but if you clump them together, they're all the same. So, let's just see what they tried to do. Well, what was a very popular game at this time? Overwatch. I mean, still is relatively, and Treyarch must have been really impressed by the way Overwatch played, because they basically just fucking took the playbook from Overwatch and applied it to this game. Now, here's the thing. If you've looked at my channel, and you know me at all, I love Overwatch. It has its problems, it really does, and the community is pretty bad, but I do love the game. So, when I heard about this, initially I was really excited. Oh my god, something fresh, something new for a Call of Duty multiplayer game. Like, this has never happened before. And then I played it, and to be honest with you, it was just boring. Like, okay, there were those matches that were completely insane, and it was just like a hectic mosh pit of these different people with these different abilities, just spamming shit at each other 24/7, nonstop. You don't get a break. But eventually, let me put it this way. If all you did was cocaine, the first few times, you're gonna get that amazing high, and you're just gonna feel unstoppable. You're going to feel like a cheetah who just had sex with a phoenix. That doesn't make any sense, but you get my point. But the more you do it, the more you're gonna numb to it, and the more you're gonna build a tolerance for it, and the more you're going to want something more. And Black Ops 4 just had a ceiling with its multiplayer. There was nothing past the gameplay. And I know that doesn't really make any sense, like, what should there be past the gameplay, but I mean there was really nothing past the pure core mechanic of shooting and using abilities. When it came to the design of unlocking things and leveling up, it was as basic as possible. Yeah, there were operator mods, which were really cool, but the game was kind of got forced into this meta where you would just end up playing every match the same way, and if you didn't like the way the game played, there was no variation. You weren't gonna find like a game mode that really truly changed up the way the game felt. You weren't gonna like hop into a match where it was like people were playing in such a specific way that it made it feel like it was a different game for even just like 5 seconds. Like, yeah, it could happen, but I got to Prestige Master and I got the 100% calling card within the first 2 months of multiplayer being out, and I can tell you I had maybe like 3 or 4 matches that was I left and I was like, oh my gosh, wow, that was really fun. I wish I'd like have a match like that again. And I don't know, it's just truly disappointing how they managed to turn this fun and very interesting multiplayer game into something that felt very monotonous and tedious by just straight up removing any sort of tact or brain power from the game and kind of making it just feel like an arcade shooter that you would play on your phone. Now, when it comes to the topic of Blackout, I actually really don't have that much to say about Blackout, and there's really one big reason for that. Blackout, to me, feels like just kind of like a person who had never played a Battle Royale game did their absolute best to make a Battle Royale game, they would have gotten Blackout. And that doesn't mean Blackout is necessarily bad, because it's not, but it's just like, alright, here's how Blackout works. Alright, so you're on this map, you drop in, there's vehicles, you find loot and stuff, and, you know, you get guns, and you have, like, armor that you can repair. You also have health that you can heal yourself, and you have to find people and you have to shoot them, and once you die, you're just eliminated from the game, and then you don't come back. And you can, like, traverse the maps of the vehicles. Sometimes you'll find, like, grenades and stuff that can do specific things. But that was it, really. It was just basic and simple. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But here's the thing. When you build an entire game around something that has no actual real depth past the core mechanics similar to multiplayer, you're gonna get bored even if it's not necessarily bad. That was the one thing they just fucking didn't understand. They didn't understand that in order to keep a game prospering and to have it have a long life cycle, you need to have things happen. You need to make it to where it's replayable, and then you need to add something to make it even more replayable, and you need to listen to the fans on what needs to be changed. You need to add things to get their attention and keep them coming back for more. With Blackout, if you didn't like the way the game played, you had no reason to play it at all. There was no real community events for Blackout that were very interesting. The limited time game modes they added were neat for a match. And they weren't bad, but then it's like, okay, I don't really want to keep playing that. It was like, alright, but eh. And now that we've seen how successful Warzone is, like, it's truly interesting, like, damn, they really did mess Blackout up, huh? Because, like, with Warzone, it's simple, yes, but there's a lot of elements to it that actually give it a lot of, like, complications, and it makes it different from every other Battle Royale, but it still feels like a Call of Duty game, and I like it. Black Ops 4, I don't know, it doesn't really even feel like a COD game in multiplayer and Blackout. It feels like something completely new, but you stripped away the things that make me want to play a Call of Duty game. I don't know. So why is Blackout such a huge disappointment? Oh, it's such a huge disappointment because at the end of the day, Blackout was the fucking center focus of Black Ops 4. This is what they were banking the game on. This is the reason the game got pushed to that October deadline, saying, hey, we gotta get this out sooner to compete with Fortnite. And there was no real esports like potential with this game, in my opinion. It was not a fun game to watch. Half of it just boiled down to, well, I don't want to push people because then that gives me a chance of dying, and people are going to hear where I am, and then, you know, it's going to expose to where I am. So I might as well just wait around and try and survive until I have to fight people and catch them by surprise, because, yeah, that is the best way to win a fight, is to completely catch someone off guard and do good shoots and kill them. So that was the best way to play the game. Like, it sounded like there was a tons of loot in the game that was like complicated or like meta, like Fortnite, for example. When you, like, back in early Fortnite at least, you saw someone who had, like, you know, a chug jug or something, and you could tell they had it, you know, you'd want to go kill them because you'd want the chug jug. And Blackout, the best thing was level 3 armor, but here's the thing, when you kill someone, the armor breaks, and then you gotta, like, repair it, and when the game came out, that wasn't even a thing. And it felt like, okay, so I'm doing my best to survive, I'm doing my best to win, but I'm kind of just waiting around for things to happen. You feel like you're not really in control of the game. You feel like you are a spectator to an event that you were invited to that is going to happen, but you gotta wait a little longer because, you know, it's still being set up. I don't know why they banked so much onto it, but they did, and that's just the way it is, sadly. And in Black Ops 4, the game was designed for nobody because they tried to design it for everybody. And to me, when you look at a game like Black Ops 3, even if you didn't like the multiplayer and the campaign, when you look at purely the zombies and how excellent that was and how no studio has even come close to having a horde mode that is even a 1% that engaging or interesting, and then you get Black Ops 4 with a 3-year development cycle, and you get a game that almost plays worse than Black Ops 1 sometimes, yeah. I think that justifies it being one of the biggest disappointments in gaming, if not the biggest. I've been Big Citrus. Subscribe for more content, and thank you very much.